Hi, my name is Will Nunziata, New York City-based director and creator of theater, television, and film, and also proud FENIX Global Artist Ambassador. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with the renowned and acclaimed music technologist and electronic musician, dolltr. For more on dolltr, you can read more about them right below this video, but in the meantime, here is a sneak peek at their incredible talent.
Sticks and stones can break your bones, and words could hit you hard. Darkness grows and pulls you close when daylight seems too far. Where's the strength to find? It's hiding deep within my mind. There's a voice that's singing in my memory. The spirit's calling me. The angels watching me. Spread your wings and make a dream reality. Be what you're meant to be, meant to be. You are your destiny.
Well, hello, dolltr. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much, Will, for having me. Hope you're doing well too.
Oh my gosh, well, I'm doing so much better now that I'm speaking with you. I have been down the dolltr rabbit hole happily this past week, and you're absolutely incredible. An acclaimed music technologist, an electronic musician, two specific genres of this beautiful industry that is show business. I would love for you to lean into what exactly, for those who may not know who you are yet, what exactly you do, dolltr, as a music technologist and electronic musician.
Yeah, totally, Will. So maybe I'll kind of start in like the reverse, but as an electronic musician, my artist project is dolltr. So I mainly do a lot of things related to anything that might involve some kind of software in the music creation process. And for me, that often kind of translates itself to the kind of subfields, I guess, of production, or it's also live performance. And actually, that's probably one of my strengths, or one of my favorite parts. That was what got me into live performance in the first place, or electronic music at all, live performance. I went to a show at Madison Square Garden, actually, since we were both just talking about New York, but I went to a show at MSG that was a band called Disclosure playing, and they have this beautiful live stage set up. And at the time, I was actually still not an entire like converted person into electronic music. I was a little bit of a purist before because I was a classically trained musician. So when people brought up electronic music, it's like, what is that? But eventually I went to the live show and it just blew me away. I loved how dynamic the performances were. And I kind of told myself, okay, if there's a way that I get into electronic music, it's through the field of live performance. So that ended up being what I mainly do. And in a way that kind of helped me shape a lot of my professional career too. So when I'm not doing my dolltr stuff as an artist, I'm working just under my professional name, Claire, which is like my real name. And to that end, I help a lot of other artists with their live shows. So I get to help them out with programming stuff. I do a lot of education related things too. So I do a lot of teaching at a college level and kind of helping a lot of my students also in the field of live performance be like, here's how you want to do a stage show. This is, how we're going to set up this entire stage rig. Or if you ever want to do like touring related stuff, then that's how you would do it. So I help a lot of my students with that too.
Oh, dolltr, I love the fact that you are not only sharing your gifts as a musician, but that you're sharing the tools in your tool belt and giving back, being so young, already thinking about legacy and the imprint that you're leaving on these students. I just think that's so admirable.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, I think like for me, one thing that was really important about my practice, the more I started doing it, was really, like you said, kind of trying to pay it forward. Thinking also a lot about like the mentorship that I had. A lot of the teachers I had were so generous with their time. And very honestly, I think if it hadn't been that case, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I try to think a lot about that too when I work with other folks.
Well, listen, I can relate. I was a performer for 25 years. And, you know, after I had headlined Carnegie Hall with my brother, and I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying that because in the audience, amidst, of course, like, you know, every family member that ever existed and those people that claim to be family that weren't, were our teachers. And I knew that one day when I became a director, that that was my paying it forward. Because like you, when you're talking with students, you actually know what it is to stand downstage center. You know what it's like before the lights go on to get from backstage to on in all of the technical, the rigging. And me as a director, I feel the same way. And so it's like when I get to speak with an actor, I've been there. I know what that's like. And so I love the fact, Daltrick, that you are not only paying it forward with your musicianship, with, you know, your educating, but you are also doing it with a light about you. You have a positive essence and vibration that is threaded throughout everything that you do. And I'm curious, well, one of the curiosities I had that I wanted to ask you is, where does that positivity come from? Because obviously you are a human and an artist that has done the work and continues to do the work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. That's such a great question, Will. I'll be honest, like the positivity, it's definitely something that almost leans a little bit more specifically to my artist project. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've kept the Daltrick stuff very separate from the professional work that I do. In part, it's because I think, like you mentioned, like we're all, when we think about artists, it's like, it's interesting. I always talk about this with, you know, my colleagues too, but it's like, we always associate artists with often like troubled artists, like, you know, like the crazy sort of thing. And it's true, like in a way, that's what makes it beautiful about creating art, right? But I think like for me, Daltrick, I see her as a lot of a project for almost like a version of myself that's maybe like 10 or 20 years younger than me. Like she's kind of like that beacon of hope in a lot of the ways that normal Claire needs also. So she's really that kind of like a separate sort of entity. But in to that end, I found that a lot of the time when I'm performing as Daltrick, like that happiness and that positivity really does manifest itself in, and it bleeds over in a way into my real self too. It's kind of like that's its own beacon of hope for my own.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, it has to. You're the vessel to Daltrick. And of course, it's going to seep into the bone marrow because both Claire Marie Lim and Daltrick share the same vessel. And what I also love so much about Daltrick as well, and a lot of conversations I've been having with artists, is that they've all in some way, shape, or form been able to reintroduce themselves to the younger selves in checking in with their inner child. Because as we all know, it's that inner child without the world of expectation and negativity who always has the answers. And the fact that you get to wear that hat and hopefully as the world starts to open up, perform live again more and more, that Daltrick's beacon of hope is needed now more than ever.
Yeah, that's so nice, Will. Thank you. I think like and it's so true, especially within the last year. I mean, you know this too, but like COVID is like just a punch in the head or something. And even for like a lot of the stuff that I was doing, both as Daltrick and also professionally, they were so affected by any of like the restrictions that we had on live performances. Even now, as things are starting to open up, like I still can't help but feel a little bit of anxiety. Just
I think we're still in limbo. I mean, look at you're in Queens, I'm in Manhattan. We're all living with it. This Delta variant is still, you know, it's a tricky sucker.
It is, yeah. And I think also it's tricky too, because we're all like, at least from my community, like we're all really passionate about trying to, you know, have things open up again, but in a safe manner. And I think that's always where the toss up is going to be, at least for the foreseeable future, because we don't know how things are going to go, like Delta variant and, you know, everything else coming in. So that's, I think, maybe where the Daltrick stuff also helps to lift me up when I start contemplating like the state of affairs, generally speaking.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, you moved this guy on 57th Street, Claire, and it's not only Daltrick. I know I'm speaking to both now, so I'm going to say both. But Daltrick, you know, listen, what I also love so much about you is that you don't take lightly who you are representing. If you don't mind, as part of this final question, I'm curious to know what you don't take lightly about who you represent and who you're representing so beautifully and admirably when you take the stage.
Totally. Thanks so much, Will. Yeah, I think one thing that this is also a little bit of the historical side before I move on to the real answer for that question. But for the longest time, when I first started doing electronic music in general, as both Daltrick and also Claire, pretty much all of my mentors were coming from a lot of like an academic type of standpoint. It was very, very structured. And there were pretty much also no women at all. And as my personal mentors, I saw them. But what really changed my life a lot was when I went to a specific show of an artist called Toki Monster. And this was a number of years ago, but she eventually became the very first woman of East Asian descent to be nominated for a Grammy in dance and electronic music. And when she did, I was like so happy, but I saw her years before that, and she was really the performer that kind of changed my entire paradigm that I had towards electronic music. Like, this is possible for someone who looks like me. It's not just, someone that I'm seeing on a random DJ stage on like at a festival. So a lot of the work that I do right now, in addition to the usual students that I teach in institutions, I also work a lot with local communities. So for example, in Queens at the moment, I work with the communities in different parts of the borough, specifically young women of Asian descent. And we do a lot of work with, actually being creative and having little workshops where we make music together. So that's actually maybe one of the bigger projects that I'm currently working on as Daltrick. I have an album that's coming out around December of 2021 that is going to be a showcase really of the music some of the music that we've created with these young women across the borough. Sometimes there are like so many tunes that they make the best things about, like, songs about chicken nuggets and stuff. Probably not going to make it on the album, but it's wonderful to hear that they are passionate enough about chicken nuggets to write a song about chicken nuggets. So there's a lot of that's going on. But yeah, I love doing that too. I think it's really important to show up. I think, and apart from just doing like the actual work, like showing up for the communities that don't often have people showing up for them. So that's a little bit of what's going on now in the Queens area, at least.
Daltrick, Queens first, the world next. You're incredible. And I know I didn't lean into your full bio because I wanted to really kind of get into, what makes you tick, but I really want the audience to please look below this video for more on the incredible Daltrick. She has worked with some of the titans in this industry. And Daltrick, you're an amazing human. And you're a perfect example of someone as a vessel who's been given so much talent and so much opportunity, but you took it, you continue to run with it, but you also continue to make the choice to give back. And that's simply the best.
Thanks so much, Will. I really appreciate that. I'm going to have to borrow your word vessel. I love that. That's like a new thing that I need to be thinking about. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.